Attention Formula One fans. Ferrari is disappointing again and Charles Leclerc hasn't held anything back. Today we reveal why the Italian team is in crisis, what Leclerc really thinks about the car, and why this race could mark a turning point in the 2025 season. The video opens with footage of Charles Leclerc getting out of the SF25 after qualifying for the 2025 Saudi Arabian GP. His expression is serious, his body language tense. Immediately afterward, we see the Monegasque driver's most forceful statements from the post-qualifying interview. Today confirms that we lack potential overall. This statement changes everything. It's not a one-off criticism. It's a judgment call. Leclerc isn't talking about a bad session. He's questioning the entire foundation of the car. It's a powerful message, one that runs counter to the rhetoric of Frederic Vasseur, who insists every week that the car has potential to unlock. There's no room for corporate rhetoric here. Leclerc has distanced himself. He speaks like a frustrated driver, but also like someone who perfectly understands the limits of the car he's driving. There are no excuses, no softness. The disappointment is so strong that it's conveyed in every word, in every gesture. The camera shows a contrast. On the one hand, images of the car traveling at high speed. On the other, Leclerc describing how he had to risk his physical safety to get a decent lap. He says it clearly. "I'm personally satisfied because I found a steering system that allows me to get the most out of the car in qualifying. I like driving like this, but it's also difficult to control. If you look at my last lap, I almost hit the wall 2 or 3 times. This reveals a double tension. On the one hand, the extreme need to push the car to the limit to compete. On the other, the risk this entails for the driver himself. Leclerc becomes the symbol of a team that isn't up to scratch. And he knows it. The frustration is personal, but the message is institutional. The narrative shifts to a broader perspective. This isn't the first time Leclerc has thrown barbs. He's done it before, but never so clearly at the start of a season. Never so quickly. This isn't a reaction to months of frustration. It's the symptom of something that can no longer be hidden since the start of the championship. Social media and forums explode. Ferrari fans are divided. Some support the driver for speaking the truth. Others believe such statements are fracturing the team. But they all agree on one thing. Something isn't right at Maranello. A graphic of qualifying for the 2025 Saudi Arabian GP unfolds. Leclerc 4th, 0.350 seconds off pole. Russell 3rd, Verstappen 1st. The gap seems small, but in modern Formula One, 3/10 is an eternity. And the most worrying thing is how and where that time is lost. Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur admits it bluntly. At turn 1 alone, the SF25 loses 3/10 of a second to Red Bull. One corner. 3/10. This isn't a matter of driving. It's not a bad lap. It's a symptom of a structural deficiency, of a car that doesn't respond as it should in a technical environment that demands perfection. The key to the SF25's problem lies in 2 elements, the chassis and the aerodynamics. Ferrari can't get the car into its optimal operating window. This translates into unstable handling, especially critical on tracks like Jeddah, where surgical precision is required at over 300 km per hour. One of the SF25's biggest Achilles heels is its relationship with the Pirelli 2025 tires. Ferrari hasn't managed to figure out how to make them work properly. While McLaren and Red Bull have made giant strides, Ferrari remains in the dark. This directly affects grip, lap pace, degradation, and especially performance in slow and medium-speed corners. Visually, the car looks fast, but what you don't see is the excessive work the driver has to do to keep it on track. It's a car that demands more than it gives back, and that has consequences. While Leclerc almost touches the wall to gain time, Verstappen cruises ahead. That difference in effort reflects the real problem. The engineers know this. The SF25 has inconsistencies that can't be solved with setup adjustments. It's not a matter of adding more wing or changing the suspension. It's a poorly calibrated interaction between the floor, the diffuser, and the aerodynamic flow distribution that compromises corner stability. The car enters nervously, exits unstable, and that, lap after lap, burns time and wears down tires. Cameras display telemetry data comparing the cornering of Ferrari and Red Bull. The difference in corner entry, apex speed, and traction is abysmal. While Red Bull traces with stability and confidence, the SF25 moves, slides, and forces its drivers to constantly correct. Added to this is a technical dilemma that worries the team. The car's current design doesn't allow for radical changes without compromising the entire concept of the car. In other words, Ferrari is trapped within its own architecture. And changing that in the middle of the season is almost impossible without sacrificing an entire year of development. Ferrari arrived in Jeddah with promises of technical improvements, of key updates. Great hopes were pinned on a new aerodynamic package designed specifically for high-speed circuits like Saudi Arabia. Engineers talked about a redesigned rear wing with a shorter chord and a simplified profile. A revised lower beam was also introduced, seeking to reduce air resistance without losing too much downforce. Furthermore, the team used an updated floor that had debuted at the Bahrain Grand Prix. This modification, led by head of aerodynamics Diego Tondi, aimed to double the tire's performance life and expand the car's efficiency window. In the team's words, this was a critical evolution to stabilize the car and allow more efficient use of the SF25's potential. But the on-track results didn't reflect what the simulations promised. In practice, the car remained difficult to drive. Leclerc pushed it to the limit, right on the edge of the wall, to pull off a lap that placed him fourth. But that performance was more a product of his individual talent than any actual structural improvement to the car. The technical solutions worked in theory, but not in real-life qualifying conditions. And that highlights something deeper. Ferrari is betting on developments that don't solve the root problem. The data collected over the weekend showed that while the new aerodynamic package offered a small gain in top speed, the loss of downforce compromised the car's stability in Jeddah's most technical corners. The SF25 gained some on the straights, but lost everything and more on corner entry and exit. Furthermore, the new floor was supposed to improve interaction with the tires. However, the car still did not enter the ideal thermal window. Degradation did not improve. Long-run pace was inconsistent. Even in clean air, behavior remained unpredictable. Most worrying is that Ferrari appears to be running out of room for reaction. These updates are not small tests. They are strategic gambles. Changing a floor entails an overhaul of the car's entire aerodynamic flow. And if that update doesn't generate a substantial improvement, the entire package is compromised. Internally, the engineers know that progress cannot be measured in tenths alone. What they're looking for is consistency, driver confidence, and a foundation that can evolve throughout the season. But if the updates fail at circuits where they should shine, the room for maneuver is drastically reduced. The Jeddah case was crucial. A high-speed track, perfect for evaluating the new design. But what should have been a leap forward ended up being a clear sign. Ferrari hasn't solved its problems, it's only papered over them. Ferrari is at a turning point. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix wasn't just another race. It was an X-ray. A public exposure of the SF25's limitations and the team's mood. Charles Leclerc's direct, unfiltered words made it clear that reality can no longer be hidden. The car isn't up to par. But the season is just beginning. And within the team, there's still a belief based more on necessity than evidence that there's room to react. Frédéric Vasseur, the team principal, has tried to keep morale high. Their message has been clear: race pace can save the weekend. But even that statement is based on partial data, as there were no simulations in FP2 due to the red flag. There's no solid basis to rely on a sudden change in performance. Internally, Ferrari has taken a pragmatic approach in the short term. In Jeddah, they modified the car's overall balance to achieve greater stability and less tire wear. This adjustment was intended to give them a chance on Sunday. But beyond this race, they are already working against time on a new series of aerodynamic updates that will be unveiled at the Miami Grand Prix. These new parts, according to sources close to the technical department, aim to revise more structural elements of the aerodynamic package. These won't just be minor tweaks. The reconfiguration of the car's rear airflow and possibly an evolution of the floor are being considered once again. The key will be to verify whether the SF25 concept has room for development or if, as some fear, it has reached its technical limit. At the organizational level, the team also faces a critical decision. There is pressure from within to accelerate changes in the way updates are developed. Some engineers believe Ferrari is being too conservative, too reliant on the wind tunnel, and needs to take more technical risks if it wants to close the gap on Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes. In parallel, the dynamic between the drivers could become an additional pressure factor. Charles Leclerc has been vocal, critical, and demanding. Lewis Hamilton, although still adapting, has a track record to back him up and will soon demand results. That combination could be explosive if Ferrari doesn't start delivering a competitive car soon. The real risk for Ferrari isn't just losing races. It's losing narrative control of the season. In previous years, they've fallen into a familiar pattern. Start poorly, promise improvements, deliver partial updates, improve late, and by the time the car starts working, they're already out of contention for titles. Repeating that pattern in 2025 would be devastating, especially considering the expectations generated by Hamilton's arrival and Leclerc's continued leadership of the team. Ferrari needs to not only update its car, it needs to update its mentality. It needs to get out of reactive mode. Build a structure that evolves race by race, not just from Grand Prix to Grand Prix. Because in today's Formula One, whoever waits has already lost.